Hello, everybody, and welcome to this week's show. We're having a tiny bit of difficulty getting our guest in the meeting. Right. This one isn't our fault. So I'm just here with Andrew at the moment, and we're waiting for our extremely special guest to arrive. And I think we now have our very special guest.
That's good to hear.
Right.
He's going to miraculously appear. A miracle of modern science.
Here we go.
The tension is unbearable.
Hello, Ray. Can you hear me?
It's refreshing to know that not only us can have technical difficulties.
Well, usually it's like my fault. So, okay, Ray. I think Ray's still connecting. So I'm just going to.
Hello.
Yes.
No, hi, Ray. We've got you. We don't have your picture yet. But
right.
So you got to you.
Oh,
there he is. Good. Excellent.
Hi. Welcome.
Yes, it started asking me questions I couldn't answer, like which email do you want to use? Well, I've got about 15 emails, and you've got emails as well, and I didn't feel competent to answer that question.
Yeah.
And it wouldn't let me in. And then I tried a different method, and I seem to have made it more by luck than judgment.
I know just how you feel. Right. Well, I was going to do a slightly different introduction, but our guest today is Grandmaster Ray Keene, who played a big part in my own chess career. And I was going to mention actually that the first time we met was at an England-Iceland telex match. And I remember that you were the only player to speak to me. you sort of just made a friendly comment. Right? You were absolutely the only one. And the captain spoke to me. Yeah. Well. Yeah.
It's probably because I was beating Charterson so easily that I didn't need to concentrate on the
game. Yeah. So that was the first time we met, and then after that, I was very greatly influenced by two of your books, the one on Leonid Stein and also the one on Aaron Nimzovich. And I actually carried these books around with me. Right, for months on end. I would just always have them with me. Well, it was one at a time, but I like to go in deep into whatever I was studying, and that it happened to be those two books. And then later on, you invited me to several GM tournaments when England had previously been fairly barren, and then it went back to being barren as far as tournaments was concerned. But you invited me to, I think, 3-4 GM tournaments.
Watson Farley Williams tournaments.
Yeah, there were two of those. There was also Preston.
Sponsored. Preston, yes, that's right. Yes, that's where I nearly killed Donaldson's adopted daughter.
Oh right, yeah. Well, yeah. Well, we won't go into what she was doing.
Well, I'll tell you quickly. I was minding my own business, and this wretched child, who was actually the daughter of Amilovskaya, who briefly married Donaldson for diplomatic reasons, as you all doubtless know, suddenly came up behind me and punched me in the back really hard. And my normal reaction in such cases is to turn around and deal a death karate blow.
Aikido training.
Exactly, my Aikido training. Yes, and but she nipped out of the way in time. But I think I would probably damage this seriously if I managed to land the blow, because it was purely automatic, And if someone hits you in the back, you.
Why did she actually do that? Why did she hit you in the first place?
She was an unpleasant little girl.
It's a very
Well,
strange thing to do, though,
it's
isn't it?
mainly biting, right? So I heard that she'd bitten several people, right? So I didn't, I just sort of stayed well out of her way, as soon as she was on the
Are they still werewolves or zombies or whatever you become if you're bitten by something?
I don't know. I mean,
There's an almost unlimited number of nutters in the chess world.
we weren't having any
another
rabies shot round about that time, but I mean, I guess there must have been some reason why, she was going around punching and biting people, but I managed to escape that myself, But,
right, we're going to crack on with this show because
Right.
as usual,
Andrew's got
at a moment's notice. Right,
Yeah,
so I've
Andrew's
got some
got one or two
questions. I've got some questions for you, Ray, and also
Okay.
I've added a game which I thought was really one of your best games, but you were far too modest to include it. And I would like to know, or the audience will, I'm sure, what you're actually doing these days, because you seem quite quiet in terms of the chess world.
Well, I got fired by the Times and the Spectator from my chess columns. I think they would have fired me at the age of 70, but I cunningly avoided going into the office, so they couldn't see how old I was. But somebody ratted on me and told them I was 72 2 years ago, and I was immediately fired by both papers. I'm now 74.
How old?
No, it's ageism. But unfortunately, the contracts that you write with these people, allow them to do anything they want. They circumvent all the laws of the land and simply do as they see fit. So now I write a column every week in an online magazine called The Article, which you may or may not have seen. Yeah. I send it to Nigel every week, and he kindly obliges me by rating me 15 out of 15 stars every time. And,
they're really good. The article's actually really good. Right, it's I mean, I think it's by far the most interesting thing you can read in the chess world. And I'm not saying that just because you're our guest. I actually think so.
And I turned the first 50 columns into a book called 50 Shades of Ray, which was a title suggested by Annette, who knew of the book 50 Shades of Grey, which I wasn't aware of.
I thought it was a player's sex manual, Ray, actually, when I first heard the title.
You did, right.
Yeah.
And it's sold surprisingly well. I was amazed. I mean, considering that it wasn't reviewed in Chess Magazine at all. It got a very good review from Jan Timman in the Dutch magazine New in Chess, and it sold rather well. So my chess activities are largely confined to writing a weekly column for the Article. And one of the great things about that is you can write as much as you like. I mean, since it's online, if I feel like writing something that's 10,000 words long, there's no problem. I just carry on writing. And all the ideas I've accumulated over the last, since the Cretaceous period when I was active, all go into these columns. And in terms of actual mental sport, I was, for many decades, an associate of Tony Buzan, who invented mind mapping. And I inherited his empire. He managed to fall downstairs 3 years ago, crack his skull open and died. And I inherited his entire empire. So I'm now the global president of the World Mind Mapping, Speed Reading and Memory Associations. And we organize world championships every year. We've got mind mapping software, we've got courses online, and it's remarkably successful. I mean, even during COVID, we managed to organize championships in memory power, mind mapping and speed reading, which most sporting federations didn't manage to do.
So that must keep you really busy.
I say that again. I was just trying to disentangle myself from a conference call with Vietnam when I realised it was getting on for 10:20, and then I desperately started to look for the codes to get onto the site, and it asked me all these awkward questions. But thank God it seemed to work. So there we are.
In the nick of time. Ray, when you've got another 50 columns ready to make into a book, what are you going to call the next volume?
I'm glad you asked me that question. I'm going to call it Lenin, Marx, Chess, and Sherlock Holmes.
All right. Okay.
Where can we get hold of your book, by the way? Where can we order it, or where's the best place to order your book?
50 Shades of Grey, Blackwell's or Amazon. It's freely available. No, not freely. It costs 15 quid, but it is available on both Blackwell's website and Amazon. It's easy to buy. You can't buy it from Chess and Bridge, but you can get it from Blackwell's or Amazon.
And your new articles are available at The Article. So it's, I think it's The Article.
Yes, it's at thearticle.com or something, and they come out every Saturday.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, the chess world moves even quicker these days than it did before, a ferocious pace. So some players, some chess personalities might not know everything you've been involved with in the English chess scene, the British chess scene. So tell us a bit about your involvement in chess over the last 50 years in Britain, because it's been very, very considerable, hasn't it?
Oh, I think so, yes. I mean, I started off playing chess when I was 6 years old. My mother taught me. And by the time that I'd left school, Dulwich College, I'd beaten Botvinnik in the Hastings tournament and played for England in the Chess Olympiad. I think I was only 18 when I played in the Olympiad the first time in Havana. Had dinner with Fidel Castro twice, and I went on to get the Grandmaster title in 1976 in the Haifa Olympiad. I won the British Championship in 1971, and I set a record for going through British Championships undefeated. I went through, I think these were consecutive for me, not consecutive, because I didn't play in every year, but 68, 70, 71, 72, and the first few rounds of 73. I didn't lose any games. And that was the record, but I suspect that people like Mickey Adams have probably shattered it by now and gone through 10 championships consecutively without losing any games, since Mickey never seems to lose anyway against British players. So I had the record for that. I got the Grandmaster title. And then in 1979, I started to organise chess tournaments. And I put on 3 World Championships. First one in London for about 100 years in 1986 between Karpov and Kasparov. I got the Prime Minister, Mrs. Thatcher, to open it, and I persuaded Jim Callaghan, the former Labour Prime Minister, to close it. And then we had another one in 1993 when I got the Times to sponsor the match between Nigel Short and Garry Kasparov. And then finally in 2000, I managed to get money to sponsor the World Championship match where Kasparov lost his title to Kramnik. So I've organised 3 World Chess Championships, but I've also organised 2 World Drafts Championships, and 30 World Memory Championships, 12 World Speed Reading Championships, and 12 Mind Mapping Championships. And overall, I think I organised 50 Grandmaster tournaments in different parts of the world. I also launched chess in Africa. I went to Nigeria in 1980 and founded the first Pan-African Junior Chess Championship. So that got chess going in Africa. Previously, not much had happened. And in the meantime, I wrote for the Times and the Spectator for about 30 years each until they fired me. And I've written 50 Shades of Ray is my 205th book that's been published. So I've written 205 books.
I don't think that's a record which is ever going to be beaten.
But this is why we're not seeing you in weekend tournaments and stuff.
I used to play weekend tournaments. I used to win a lot of them back in the Cretaceous period when I was active.
You also Korchnoi second, one of the seconds, weren't you, in the World Championship matches?
Oh yes, I was Korchnoi second in the candidate semi-final against Pologaevsky in 1977, candidates final against Spassky in 77-78, and then the World Championship match in Baguio against Karpov in 1978. which Korchnoi very nearly won. I mean, he was very, very close to winning, but he chose a crazy idea.
He was about to mention he played the perk. Big mistake.
It was one particular. Yeah, I think we got a slight connectivity issue, but there's the problem was that the line of the perk that was played was one with b6 and bishop b7 and knight a6 to c7, which was very passive, whereas black could have played for b5 on me, and that would have been much more effective.
Well, look, while Ray's getting connected again, let's have a look at one of his games.
Yeah, let me just get the screen share up here.
Is he able to see this?
Hang on a second. I don't know.
He's gone.
That is the Okay, can you see the board, Andrew?
Yeah, I can see it well.
Okay. Hopefully we're going to get Ray back again. I think there's an internet connection issue. Looks suspiciously like that. But
well, I think we should remind the audience that Ray Keene was actually a pretty good chess player. So
you can still see the board, can't you?
Who, me? I can still see the board. I can also see an email list of yours, which is
right. Let me just get rid of that.
Fairly unimportant as far as
right. Screen sharing has stopped. Let me try that again. Here we go again.
The audience should remember that we are fond of cock-ups.
they just make the whole thing
usually completely inadvertent. Right. Okay. So Ray put two of his games forward for scrutiny this morning, but I picked out another one which I thought was actually representative of his style and may not be known by many of the audience. And it's a game he played in, when was it, 1980, I think. Yes. At Skara in the European Championships, Team Championship. So he's obviously playing for England against, I guess, Yugoslavia. His opponent is Marjanovic. And one of the reasons I chose this was that during this period, he was playing the modern defence, which I know Nigel specialised in for a long time, and I've played on numerous occasions. And I've always liked it because of its originality. Of course, back then, it was definitely one of the most original things you could do, wasn't it, Nigel?
Yeah, it was. Why did you start playing it? Was it because of the book or because of?
Well, first of all, I read the books, The Modern and the Perk Defence by Keene and Botterill, which I think stood the test of time as excellent books on the Modern and Perk. And I just started playing it because I liked just not trotting down an enormous amount of theory. I mean, you could just kind of make it up as you went along in those days. I started playing it because I thought it was an opportunity to play something a bit different.
Yeah. I didn't actually look at the books. I played it because other people were playing it. And
you had a lot of original ideas, actually, as I recall.
Yeah, that was mainly, I always like to think about what I was doing. I mean, the modern defense came along when I was actually playing the Rio de Janeiro variation of the Berlin and the Chigorin. And then everyone was playing this 1G6 thing. I thought, wow, can I do that? So I started playing it for this reason. And I played the move knight c6 that we see in this game. I played it until Velimirovic played bishop b5 against me, which I'm not sure is that great, but I lost a bad game and it put me off. Well,
of course, here we have the Austrian attack, which is even today considered the most critical test of the resources of the modern defence player or Perk player. Although a lot of people play bishop e3 and queen d2 as well. I mean, I think that's probably right up there on a par with the Austrian attack. It's a very dangerous system. But of course, white is pushing pawns, so not yet developing pieces. So black's got a lot of responses. Now, the move Ray Keene played in this game, I think attempts to bombard the centre with pieces, doesn't it? Rather than pawns. I mean, black can play other moves. Black could play c6 here. That's another move which was mentioned in the Keene and Botterill books as a possibility. And then we have A6, which I think Tiger Hillett Pearson specialised in. He wrote a couple of really comprehensive books on the modern defence, and I think he recommended that for black. And of course, you can go back into a perk by playing knight f6. And there's also e6, which I've mentioned in my books on the hippopotamus defence. Yeah. Also not to be underestimated.
Well, I switched to that because if we look at the setup that Ray uses in this game, he does adopt a kind of hippopotamus. And after knight c6, bishop b5, I didn't like black's position that much.
Well, of course, Baski played e6 as well, didn't he? That was one of his favourites.
Yeah. And the idea is that after e6, you can follow up with knight e7 and knight d7 to f6 and get a similar setup to the one that black got in the game.
Well, okay, so Keene played knight c6, and one thing that white should probably avoid here is knight f3, whereupon black plays bishop g4, and there's a bit of pressure against the d4 pawn. So in general, it's better to play bishop e3 first, as was played in this game, and not give black the opportunity to pin a knight on f3 just yet. Knight f6. Just going back, it was bishop b5 you didn't like.
Yeah, bishop b5. And I'm not sure that I thoroughly exhausted black's possibilities after bishop b5, but I was just really mashed by it, and I sort of felt Velimirovich crushed me in a really brilliant game, and I was not very keen on playing it again after that.
Experience. I mean, what should black play here? A6 or bishop d7?
Possibly a6 actually. Yeah. But I played something bad. I played then f5, I think, quite early, and probably that was a mistake.
Ray was talking about all these tournaments in London, and I remember one that was held, I think, after Lloyd's Bank in a place in Hampstead where Alexander Kotov was playing, and I'm pretty sure I saw Kotov play this setup as well, and he just put his bishop on d7, his queen on b8.
Yeah, that's probably the kind of thing you should do.
Yeah, something along these lines. I mean, how bad is that for black? Doesn't look too bad. Is it so bad?
Yeah, probably not terrible. It's not found any games. I think Hickel was playing this after my Velimirovich disaster, right? So it could well be playable, but I started to drift away from the modern. In fact, that was around the time, that was like 1989, I think, and
your results immediately improved.
Well, yeah, actually.
Well, of course, anyway, in those days, this opening was much less charted than it is today, and of course, Keene, having written this book along with Botterill, was one of the leading specialists in the world. So, it's really a question of what white should do here. And Marjanovic very straightforwardly just develops his pieces. And after a6, again, that move is very provocative, isn't it? It's kind of asking to get hit by e5, isn't it?
I think the idea is sort of to start discouraging castling queenside.
Yeah.
I mean, the black's got a solid alternative there and going e6 followed by knight e7 and then b6 and bishop b7, which is probably less provocative, let's say.
Yeah, I mean, I am tempted by this. I don't know, knight g4, is it?
Yeah, knight g4 and then I think b5.
And then there, wow, really, that really
game
is.
Balashov. There's another game, Balashov Keene, and also Bednarski Keene.
In this,
so Lane Keene.
There you go, a lot of games.
Those games in.
Just a question of whether white centre is creaking or whether it's blanking out the black pieces.
Yeah.
I mean, you can go h3, I guess, knight h6, g4. So, but this is all very, it could collapse like a pack of cards at any moment. On the other hand, black could run out of play. This is the dilemma you face when you play the modern defence. You know, you can be crushed like a bug, or you can play a brilliancy prize.
Yeah.
And it's hard to tell which it is.
Well, this is what started to put me off. You know, you could go into a game and you may not feel you know, full of beans that particular day, right? But you've nevertheless got to play in this, you know, razor sharp type of position if that's all there is in your repertoire. You know, and it just places a lot of demands on you. You know, and you know, not everybody feels absolutely their best every single day, right? So when I stopped playing the modern, then my results did improve. I used it in one game to get my second GM norm, and it was a game I played against Godina, and the other thing I was playing was e4, e5, but he played some 4 knights, which was very, very solid. So I decided just to risk it with the modern, you know, win or lose. I had to win the game, and fortunately I did. You know, I rolled the dice and it came up trumps.
It is possible to win games with the modern defence, as we're about to see.
Yes.
So Marjanovic played a4, and you would think that kind of is a success for black, because white has been talked out of casting on the queen side. As it happens, later on in the game, he actually does cast on the queen side, which is quite surprising. But a4 was played, and now e6. So white is coming forward now with all guns blazing, and then black is going into some sort of hippopotamus structure. And it's really difficult to evaluate a position like this.
It's just incredibly complicated.
Yeah.
And
all the pieces on the board. Is white's centre weak, or is it just going to blank the black pieces out?
I think that's the other thing, is you've got to be a really good calculator to play the modern. And I'm not sure in my case that was we have Ray is back, I believe. I'm just going to...
Sorry about this, audience. You're going to have to accept these little glitches from time to time.
Well, they're part of our show.
Right. Anyway, I mean, this particular position, I don't mind for black, because white's made
Hello?
a lot of it.
Yeah. Hi, Ray. Welcome back.
Oh, I don't know what happened there.
I think it was your internet connection. It started to look like that because your video stopped moving. So
right. Do you need to see me again? Do I need to press something to get the video connection?
Yeah, you can do that if you like. It's just it uses bandwidth, so we might
don't bother.
Be better off just having your voiceover. We're only on little icon mode anyway now. So
yeah. So this is my game against Marjanovic from Skara 1980.
It is. I chose it because I thought it was a really good representation of your play with the modern.
Right. Could we go back a few moves?
How far?
Where white's just played bishop e3 and bishop e2. Right, before black played, yeah, and then right. Robert Byrne played this against me at Hastings in 1971, and I tried all sorts of things. I tried e5, I tried d5, I tried e6, knight g4. I tried all sorts of things, and they all left black with a lifeless position. And then it suddenly occurred to me that if you play a waiting move like a6, and it's not really a waiting move, but it's going to prepare b5 as well. Now white's faced with a number of dilemmas, because he can't really castle kingside because of knight g4. If he castles queenside, you're going to play b5. And the key line is actually e5 in this position.
Yeah, and we looked at this. We couldn't quite work out whether this was. Well,
you don't need to go, but it's very, very complicated. And I played it against a number of Soviet grandmasters as black, one of them being Balashov.
Yeah.
And another one being Gelgadze.
Yeah. Anatoly Lane, a former Soviet
and also the prodigy Peter Wells, Ian Wells, not Peter Wells. I never lost with it.
And Jacek Bednarski.
Sorry?
Jacek Bednarski played it against as well.
Yes. That was the first time I played it.
I see.
We were
I've
just
got
saying.
a game. I've got a game against Kinderman in the same line.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, we're just saying how difficult these positions are to evaluate. Like, for instance, in the game, if we go on with the game here, I mean, how do you evaluate this position? I mean, looks okay for black to me.
Well, I was very happy with it because I felt the white had overextended.
Yeah, he's making huge commitments on both sides of the board, isn't he?
Yeah. So what happened now?
Well, he played knight d2, which is already a step in the wrong direction, really, isn't it, in some ways?
I think his idea was he wanted to stop me from playing c5.
But you played it
So
straight
I played
away.
it anyway. And he took on c5. I took with the people. No, and I think he thought he was going to win material now because, for example, after d5,
yeah,
yes, and
then
he played.
this.
That's right. And then if I take on c4, he just trades queens and captures my knight. So it looks at first as if white's just won a pawn for nothing, but actually black's got yes. Now he's got two pieces attacked, and he has to trade his bishop for the knight.
Did you calculate that before playing c5? You must have done, I guess.
Well, if I didn't, I'd have been 2 pawns down for bugger all.
Yeah.
So, the point is that
well, he's got
in any King's Indian or Peert's type position, it's my belief that if you force white to lose or exchange off the dark squared bishop, but you keep your dark squared bishop and it's not ridiculously blocked in or anything, it's worth it. And in fact, I've had a number of games where, as black, in one of these structures, a King's Indian or Peert's, I've been able to win the game outright by trading my dark squared bishop for a white knight. And although I won the games anyway, I never saw it. I couldn't see it. My mind was attuned to not giving up the dark squared bishop. So now I took back on d5, yeah?
No, you didn't. You played this. Bishop b7 is an excellent move, isn't it?
Oh, bishop e7 first, yes.
Because there's queen h4 check in the.
Exactly. So he's got no choice.
He's definitely overextended here, hasn't he? I mean, he's gone too far.
Yeah, but he's 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, he's only 1 pawn up, and his position's a complete wreck.
Well, he's 2 pawns up, but he won't be able to keep it. Yeah. Now you're killing him with the bishops.
Yeah.
And now this next move is really strong as well.
Yeah.
Well, that forces him to castle queenside, which is...
It does. And now I temporarily win a piece.
Now,
and of course,
when you see this game, it makes you want to rush out and play the modern defence. Anybody who's done that will know that not every game turns out in this manner. I mean, you're completely destroying that centre.
Yeah.
So he castled queenside, but the play after this is really good as well. So takes. He flicks in as Zwischenzug here.
Yeah.
And you play queen f2. Now he's got to play this.
That's right.
And then he's got to go into this horrible pin.
That's it.
And now you get this beautiful play all over the board. The Fianchetto bishop is wiping him out here, isn't it?
Oh, yeah. I seem to remember, Andrew, that you had a game against Julian Hodgson. Is that right? Where you castled queenside and he had a very strong dark square bishop? Does that ring a bell?
Well, I must have got hammered in it, I think. I lost. Yeah, it's possible. Julian has got a very good record against me. Yes, I think I remember the game. Yeah, I think I do remember the game. It was actually knight f3, d6, d4, bishop g4. I think it started.
That's it. And then he managed to get this dark square bishop. This is whenever you get the dark square bishop against the castle king like that, you're going to win all the time. It's absolutely devastating. And Botvinnik managed to do it several times as black against people. Medina, Matulovic, who incautiously traded off their dark square bishop and then castled queenside. And Botvinnik made a habit of this. And he destroyed people left, right, and centre with it. But I just loved the end of this game. I mean, I really enjoyed it.
Let's see. I'm not surprised. It was a crush. So rook f e8, attacking the knight once more. Queen d6. I suppose he was relying on that. But now you whip off the pawn on a4.
Yeah.
So you're not only killing him with the attack, you've managed to equalise the score on material.
Exactly.
So knight c2, rook here. g5. What's that all about?
He's trying to stop bishop h6 check.
Yeah, that's it. That's a nice move, isn't it? So you're threatening b2. He plays b4. That's not very welcome. That is the rub, isn't it?
Yeah.
And now you just absolutely lay waste his king.
Yeah.
Look at that. Really nice. Look at that. Beautiful. Check. Check. And a nice quiet move to finish.
Yeah. And now I'm actually 3 pawns up as well.
I don't think you need them.
No.
I mean, I thought that has to be very close to one of your best games, you know?
Oh, I was very pleased with it. Yeah, absolutely. I really loved it.
I was mentioning offline that when you were offline, that you were one of the world specialists at that time in the modern defence. So for somebody to try and crush you in the modern was quite brave, really, by him.
Yes. Yes. No, I said I never lost a game with that a6 move. I was very pleased with my record. And in fact, I think I had a couple of completely winning positions. Oh, against Lane, I was completely winning. Managed to screw it up and drew. And I think there were some Irishmen I managed to draw with from a completely winning position. So I should have had an immense plus score with it. As it was like a sort of 2600 performance with black, which isn't bad with a risky opening like that.
Yeah.
Now, I mean, when you see a game like that, it makes you feel that English chess players around that time were pretty strong. I mean, how would you compare your generation of players with let's say the next generation, the English chess explosion? I mean, they didn't have the opportunities that the guys after them had. How strong was your generation?
When I look at some of the games I played from that time, I wonder whether I could be considered a chess player at all. Some of the things I overlooked, I can't believe it. But I mean, obviously Nigel Short and John Nunn, Mickey Adams were stronger than we were. I mean, they were. I mean, they didn't have any complexes about playing against really strong Soviet grandmasters. I mean, okay, I think most of them had trouble with Kasparov, but quite a surprising number of them beat Karpov. And the next generation was really, really strong. And we seem to have fallen back a bit now. I don't know what the reason for it is, but the Short, Nunn, Spielman generation was fantastically strong. And Spielman did it playing moves that nobody could understand. I mean, he was completely obscure. I mean, he'd make moves and you just wouldn't know what he was on about. It's quite amazing. But I think the other thing is that if you compare my generation with the previous generation, Jonathan Penrose won the British Championship 10 times, which is extraordinary. He won it 10 times, and he actually beat Mikhail Tal in a game. But whenever I played Penrose, I thought he was a weak player. Well, I beat him like a child. I'm okay. He scrabbled a couple of short draws against me when I chose bad opening variations. But when we played real games, I won all the time. Didn't matter whether I was black or white, and I won easily. And I remember one game I won against Penrose. I was white in a King's Indian. And I completely outplayed him, in Petrosan style, and got a sort of dominating knight on e4 against his bishop on g7. And we got to the adjournment, where games were then traditionally adjudicated rather than played off quickly. And his position was absolutely hopeless. My knight was totally dominating. He could hardly move a piece. And I expected him to resign, and he didn't. And I said something like, "Come on, Jonathan, this is ridiculous. You can hardly move a piece. We can send it to adjudication if you want, but you might as well resign." And he said, "Oh, let's look at a few variations." I said, "There aren't any variations. There's nothing you can do. You can't move." And eventually he resigned, but he was obviously reluctant. And it struck me after him, hang on, he didn't understand why he lost. And the reason he lost was he had a bishop on g7. he had pawns in front of it that couldn't be shifted. And I had a white knight on e4 that eventually went to e6 and paralysed him. And he simply didn't understand what was wrong with his stuff. And the reason that he won 10 British championships was that because the other English players were absolutely lousy at tactics. I mean, some of them were sort of very aggressive, like John Littlewood, but their ability to calculate tactics was extremely poor. And he just used to, want of a better word, swindle them.
I mean, you were fortunate enough to go to Cambridge, which was really a hotbed of chess at that time.
Oh yeah,
and that really was where your generation really came into its own, wasn't it?
Oh yes, I mean the Cambridge team was almost the English national team at one point.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
And we had Steen, Mestel, me, Bill Hartston.
Yeah,
Hartston was very hard to beat. I don't know. Have you ever played Hartston?
Yeah, I have. I've played him quite a few times.
I mean, I found him very hard to beat. I mean, I beat him 3 times and lost twice. And I found him much tougher nut than Penrose.
He won some brilliant games against top players, didn't he?
Hartston, yes. I thought he was a very strong player, but he seemed to be very sort of diffident and retiring. When destiny called, he tended to hang up the phone.
Right. Do you think there was that your generation actually acted as a kind of halfway house between the players that came before Penrose, Alexander, and then the ones that were completely unafraid of playing Soviet grandmasters?
Yes.
Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, I mean, after
like the 4-minute mile thing, as soon as Bannister ran the 4-minute mile, then everyone else got in too.
Yeah,
there was a kind of lack of belief before that.
That's right. Very much so. And I managed to beat a few Soviet grandmasters. I beat Geller, I beat Botvinnik, I beat Tal in a simultaneous display, Bagarov, Fuhrman. But I never did develop the knack of beating them all the time, like Spielman and Miles and Nigel Short did. I mean, they didn't care whether they were Soviets or not. It didn't matter. And we definitely had a bit of a hang up with Soviets. Absolutely right. Oh, by the way, I'm sorry that we lost connection for a while. I mean, if you want to do another one of these later on, and I'll try and polish up the connections and see if the steam-generated computers can be activated. Happy to do another one.
Yeah, sure. We'd love to.
Just reflecting on your comments about Penrose, though, I mean, I think when you mix in the company of like minds, like you did at Cambridge, it can't but improve your play. I mean, I don't think Penrose had that opportunity, did he? That was the difference. That was a big difference, wasn't it?
It's an interesting.
And that's how the English chess explosion became so strong, because everybody was playing each other all the time. They're analysing with each other, and that proved to be the killer factor.
I think that's an interesting point. I mean, there's actually a book about Cambridge chess written by Richard Eales that sort of catalogues the various successes we had at the high point of our
orange cover.
That's it. You got it. Yes.
G.H. Wood.
I'm just checking if I've got one here.
Well, there's always a tactical grob if you haven't in the same series.
Talking about the grob, Michael Basman, he was an interesting player. And my theory, do you ever play Basman? Did either of you ever play Basman?
Yeah, many times.
Yeah.
And he was he beat John Nunn and Spielman by playing G4 and G5, which was extraordinary. But my theory about Basman was that he was actually a very strong player with a very poor memory. And he decided to go off the beaten track and play G4 and G5 and weird moves, because he didn't want to have his memory challenged. And he felt had a sort of inferiority complex where mainline theory was concerned. Well, when he played G4 against me, I mean, like it was manna from heaven. Like he played
the Benedictine, wasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, Miles and I had a race to see who could beat him more quickly with black, and I won. I beat him in 21 moves, Miles in 22.
He actually told me during that tournament that he thought you were much stronger than Miles after the 2 games.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he said, Reiki's just much better than Tony.
I'll tell you a funny story about Basman and the modern defence. I had the cheek to play the modern defence against him in an open tournament. I think it was the last round, and we were playing for big money. And he played 2A3 against the modern defence, E4, G6, A3. And I wondered what he was on about. And so I played Bishop G7. He played Bishop C4 and then put the bishop on A2. And I was crushed in about 15 moves.
Really?
Yet another disappointing experience with the modern defence.
Well, it's funny you should say that, because the same thing happened to me. I was playing a guy called Greg Shorth, who was a very talented player, who died very tragically very young.
He was very original, actually.
Yes, and he played E4, I played G6, and he played A3. And I played C5. I played C5. And I crushed him. I completely wiped him out. I mean, I loved it when people played weird openings against me. I mean, I was always worried that people would just play one E4 and try and blow me off the ball, with some taking over the centre and crushing me, which happened a couple of times. I lost to guys like Hort.
Well, let's move on to your game against Tony Miles, because this is
okay.
This is absolute cracker.
We'll just. I think I need to
flip the board,
didn't I? So, right, white. There we go.
So let's see. Now, give us a bit of background to this game, then, Ray. What was it?
It was Hastings, 1975-76.
Yeah.
And Tony and I were racing to become Britain's first grandmaster, and I'd made a norm in the Olympiad of 1974. And I think Tony had a norm from London, actually, 1975. And Tony might have made it in this tournament, and I wasn't playing particularly well most of the time. But when it came to playing Tony, I thought, well, the only way to stop him was there was a £5,000 prize for the first grandmaster.
Which was a bloody fortune then, wasn't it?
And 2,500 for the second. So, I was quite anxious to put the boot in, as it were.
Yeah, well, you certainly managed to achieve it, although it doesn't look as though it's going to be a very interesting game at the moment.
Yeah.
Both sides copying each other. So C takes D5, okay.
Yeah.
He plays the semi-Tarrasch.
Yep.
Bishop D3.
Yep.
Takes Bishop E7. Stop me if you want to say anything about this.
It's all well-known stuff, and it's happened a million times.
Yes, rookie one. Knight F6. So basically what we have is an isolated queen's pawn position where white's got this this weak pawn on D4, and if the pieces are exchanged and all things take a normal course, black is going to win the endgame. So what white's got to do in a position like this is to make sure there is no endgame, or at least an endgame manufactured on his terms. So white really is looking to attack. So Ray's next move is excellent. Just coming in with the bishop there. It mentions A3. Did you consider that?
Never crossed my mind.
Okay. Well, we've run this. We've run these games through Stockfish, so you could expect criticism at every point.
No, they were okay. There was nothing. There was nothing obvious that black could have done.
The computer is merciless when it comes to criticising moves. So
yeah. Should we just point out to people the obvious trap? Knight takes D4, loses.
We can do.
Yeah, we should do that.
I'm sure you would have been pleased to see that move.
Takes, queen takes, bishop takes H7, check.
That's it.
And you win the queen.
Win the
Viewers
queen.
of this show
it has to be said for two pieces.
I'm not sure Ray could have finished Miles off from the position,
yeah. Okay.
Let's go back. Okay, so there we go. So Bishop G5. Now he plays Knight B4, which looks like the most natural move in the world. Yet Stockfish gives that a dubious symbol.
I'm not sure it is.
I don't know. I mean, what does Stockfish say? What does Stockfish say black should play?
B6. There should be some sort of trick there, doesn't it?
Yeah. Sometimes against Bishop G5, you can do H6 and Knight H5. and bishop takes e7, knight takes e7.
Not waste time with knight b4.
Yeah. And that's why the idea of a3 normally is to be able to play bishop c2 and queen d3 and try and provoke a weakness in black's.
Which I could have done after b6, couldn't I? I could have played a3 and bishop c2 and queen d3.
Yeah.
Okay, so he played knight b4.
You play knight b4. You play the natural move. You play b6. You go knight e5. And because the rook's on e1, bishop a6 is not so good anymore. So he plays bishop b7. Now your next move is excellent, isn't it?
Oh, this is where I played rook e3. Yeah.
Stockfish gives that a double exclamation mark. What
It
about
might,
that?
it might be raised notes, because what I did with it, this is just raised notes, right? I also put the I annotated the games with Stockfish afterwards, and there was nothing. There was no real difference. So what we've got are actually raised own notes.
Can you recall how Miles looked at this time? Because I would have thought once he saw rook e3, he would have been very worried.
He didn't seem very worried. He seemed quite jovial, actually.
Really?
Yeah.
Looks like I think looks very dangerous.
I think he thought he had the defence until a very late stage, and it was only. I'll tell you where I think he missed.
Well, let's crack on then. So he blocks you out. You come across, and that's a good move as well, isn't it? That's a good move.
Oh yes.
Let's now point out another trap. I, like an idiot, will fall in for it. Okay, carry on.
Queen h5.
He hasn't lost any of his sharpness. Can I resign now?
Yeah.
All right, finish me off.
Bishop f6.
That seems reasonable.
Yeah.
To a beginner or newcomer to chess, that combination seems almost miraculous there. So rook c8.
Yes.
And that is given a question mark.
Yeah. So black could have tried to sacrifice the exchange with knight c6, bishop h6, queen takes d4.
Was this raised notes or Stockfish?
I think it's raised notes.
This one.
Yeah.
Let's have a look at it. So you go in for the exchange. He must take it out. Well, it won't be easy to win, but you can't help feel that
White's got all the chances.
White should win.
Yes, I mean, if anyone's going to win, it's going to be white. Let's put it that way.
I mean, you should be able to penetrate on the D file somehow, shouldn't you?
Yeah.
Or C file.
Yes, I think D file to start with, rook d3 maybe.
Yeah. All the same, it's not going to be that easy.
No, it would be a fight.
Yeah.
Whereas what happened, I think Miles was relying on. I think Miles had something in mind. Well, I'll show you what it is when we get there.
So you attack his rook, he moves the rook.
Yeah.
You attack his knight, he moves the knight.
And now
you hit him with this.
That's right.
Got to take it. Hit him with that. Do you think he underestimated that? He must have missed something around these parts.
I'll tell you what he missed. So what black has to take back.
Well, we've got a couple of variations here. It's worth noting. If you go here, you take on f7.
Yep.
Check, and then just bring the queen in, which is nice. Apparently, that's crushing.
Yes. It's murderous.
And that's a nice move in its own right, because the discovered check is available and you don't play it.
No. Save it for later.
There might not be a later. So bishop takes g6 is one more line, which is bishop f8.
Yes.
Then you come back, check.
Yep.
King moves away, takes it, and this is more straightforward.
Queen d2, yes.
And in you come. Now, what about that move? That's a special move, isn't it?
It's nice.
Just opening up all lines.
Mm.
Yeah, so go back to the game. These are nice variations, aren't they? So he He takes.
Now this is where I think Tony had why he didn't seem very worried. He started to look worried after my next move, but he hadn't been looking very worried here. I think he thought that if I now play Queen D3, can we play Queen D3?
Yeah, we've played it.
He's got Knight E5.
Ah, very
which
cunning.
defends everything. Yeah.
Nice.
All right, go back, drop Queen D3.
Yeah.
Queen
Go put the
C2.
Queen back on D1, or Queen C2.
Yeah.
He plays Knight E5.
Yeah. You take it.
Pawn takes Knight, and he plays Knight E4. And I think he was actually perfectly happy with his position. But what he had overlooked was, to go back to the Queen on D1,
Yeah.
that when I played Bishop takes G6, I'd opened up a third square for the Queen. So F takes G6, and now I've vacated B1.
Yeah, so nice finesse, isn't it? Beautiful.
Neither of those tricks works. Because my Queen's not on the D file or the C file, so none of the pins work. And now he just can't defend G6.
So he's got to ditch a couple of knights in order to do it.
Yeah, that didn't help him very much.
It doesn't help because you get this crushing move here.
Yeah.
Amazing game. It's just crushing attack, isn't it? Beautiful. And after the game, all was okay.
Yeah, no. I was very friendly with Tony until he went mad.
Oh, well.
I mean, sadly, he went mad, and I knew his doctor, and he said that Tony's problem was that if he took the medication, it weakened his fighting spirit, and he became emasculated. So he didn't like taking the medication, but when he didn't take the medication, he was insane. So there were these moments when, the medication hadn't quite worn off, and he wasn't completely bonkers, and he could still play well. But as soon as he started taking the medication, he had no fighting spirit left anymore. And then if he didn't take the medication, then he was completely mad. And it was a shame. He used to be a good friend of mine. I mean, he used to stay at my flat. I put his girlfriend up for a week once. We were very friendly in tournaments. And then suddenly it all changed. He went completely crazy.
Oh, well, it's tragic. A tragic
case.
Yeah.
You know what the poet says? Great wit is sure to madness near allied, and thin partitions to their bounds divide.
Well, yeah. Okay. Well, let's move swiftly on to another nice game of yours against Vlatko Kovacevic.
Yeah. So this is a very nice game.
It is. Again, did you play this opening after completing your book on the Nimzo Larsen attack? Was that before or after this game?
No, I wrote the book afterwards.
Oh, afterwards. Okay. Because I remember it featured in the book. So what am I saying? Yeah, you must have read it afterwards. Yeah.
Yeah.
So this was a main weapon of yours.
Yes, I played it a lot. And after I wrote my book on Nimzovic, I thought it was worth giving it a whirl.
Yeah.
But
I'll tell you the background of this game. It was played in the last round of the tournament in Amsterdam in 1973. And it was played in the morning. So, morning rounds are traditionally turn up to game, agree, draw, go back to bed again. And I was expecting this game to be drawn quite quickly, actually. So the next few moves are really quite standard. Nothing special happens.
Well, he doubled your pawns.
He doubled the pawns, yeah.
It's a reverse trump, isn't it?
Yeah.
And now you criticise your next move as being a bit routine.
I thought Bishop H3 might have been a bit more. But I said it was 9 o'clock in the morning.
I suppose he goes there then, doesn't he?
Yeah.
How are you going to get through?
Well, just
Normal
it's a more
move.
active square for the bishop in general, that's all.
Yeah.
There's no immediate tactics.
No, okay. Well, Bishop, it can't be anything wrong with Bishop G2 for heaven's sake.
There's nothing wrong with it, no.
Not very exciting. Now he begins.
Maybe you could play H4 and then Bishop H3.
Yeah.
That never occurred to me.
So now you give your next move as a dubious move, A4.
Did I?
I think so. I think these are your notes.
Hang on, I'll just double check if they're.
I saw your notes on chessgames.com. You annotated this game pretty extensively there.
Yeah, no, it is. These are still your notes, Ray.
Oh,
You didn't like A4.
Is this because it sort of jams up the queen side, or what?
no, I'd have played A4 now. I don't know why I said it was dubious.
Well, you mentioned knight D2 instead.
Yeah, allowing black to go A4. Then maybe you just play knight F3
And get on with it.
Well, maybe. I don't like the look of that. I prefer A4 now I look at it. Anyway, so I played A4. I
Is he
would
going to play, just as one more final thing, is he going to play A3 in this position or not?
Probably, yes. Because my bishop is a bit, well, it's a bit embarrassed for squares.
Yeah.
No,
Well,
I like A4.
You played A4.
Yeah.
2, yeah. Now, you didn't like his next move.
Now, what he did now was, as I said, this was played in the morning. It was the last round, and he wanted to presumably just agree a quick draw and go back to bed. So he found a way of liquidating the position completely. And I think what he should do really is he should just maintain the tension. You know, rook e8 maybe, safety move.
Yeah, you mentioned knight b8 even.
Did I?
What is this? Unless I'm misreading it. Yeah.
My God, that's creative. Bloody hell. I think rook e8 up. I would suggest now.
Sure you didn't mean knight b6?
Knight b6. Yes, maybe knight b6. Knight b8 looks very odd. Anyway,
Well, it's coming to A6 and then presumably probing B4 or something.
Well, maybe. Anyway, he played the next few moves very quickly. Knight b6, rook a4, rook a1 takes on b3. I traded. I took back and he played knight b6. Play knight b6.
Yeah, it's just that it's left him with no pressure on the queen side, has it?
Yeah, that's right. He was just hoping for a quick draw, just trade all the pawns. Now, in this position, I thought my first thought was, he's liquidated very effectively Yugoslav grandmasters. Oh, by the way, this was the last guy to beat Fischer before the World Championship side.
Oh, it was him.
It was Kovacevic. He'd just beaten Fischer, and but Yugoslav grandmasters were all very good at drawing with black. It was one of their specialities. And I thought, well, the guy's done it very efficiently. He's traded all the pieces. This is going to be a draw. And then I had a sort of funny feeling. I thought, hang on, black position doesn't quite hang together. I can invade with rook a7.
Yeah.
That might be quite annoying for him. Well, wait a minute. Also, I can play knight d4. And there are a couple of threats against e6 and c6. And then I thought, maybe I can do better. Maybe I can. And then suddenly the whole damn thing unfolded before my eyes.
Mm.
And
you played an excellent move.
I played a very good move, yes, f5.
Yeah. It can happen like that at the chessboard. You can suddenly see these concepts. Really nice move.
He's got to take it.
Well, queen d7 is mentioned here, just passive defence, but then takes, bishop h3, now very strong, and rook e1.
Oh, yes. It's very unpleasant.
Yeah, very well. It's lost, isn't it? So,
yeah.
So he has to take it. You're right, and then you played
knight d4.
And
this attacks b6 and f5.
Defends bishop h3.
Yeah, and he had to play g6.
Yeah.
And now I just as I played my next move, Tigran Petrosian walked up to my board and started to look at it. And I played rook a7 just as he came. I thought, world champion, he deserves to see the key move.
Well, you played this first.
Yeah.
I think you have to do that. Soften him up.
Yeah.
Didn't Petrosian's wife have a role to play in the Fischer-Kovacevic game?
in the
It was I mean, I heard a rumor that
she
that
recommended she conveyed to Kovacevic
conveyed to Kovacevic a particular move.
It's possible. I don't know. I wasn't there. I do not know. I was not there. So yes, right. Bishop takes f5 to weaken the black king position.
You could have played this if you know.
I could have done, yeah.
If you were Paul Littlewood.
Yeah. However, it's death or glory. Bishop takes f5.
Well, this next move is he couldn't have seen this at all. It must have come as a terrible shock.
Yeah, and then Petrosen saw me play this, and he sort of rocked back on his heels, and he had a very expressive face, and he pulled a sort of huge, sort of surprised face, rocked back on his heels, and he hung around watching the rest of the game. And as soon as I won it, he asked me if I'd write it up for his magazine, 64.
Yeah,
which I gladly did. Anyway, Black's got no choice. He's got to
take it. 4.
And then Knight takes c6. And now this is where Black misses his one chance to try and defend.
Which is this.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, I thought at the time that Bishop takes f6 won, and so did Kovacevic, but probably it doesn't. There's probably a defence. But Knight takes Queen.
No, he's got this move, apparently.
Yeah. Yes.
That's not easy to see, is it?
No. But
Queen
so,
g4 as the defence. Remarkable.
Yeah, so I have to play Knight takes Queen after Bishop a3.
Knight takes Queen, yeah. Bishop takes b2.
And then c4.
c4, yes. Bishop d4, Knight b5.
Knight b5. I think White's probably winning this position, but there's lots of fire left.
Yeah.
d4 and c5. I mean, Black's king is weak. His pawns are scattered. I'm probably going to win the d pawn. I think it's a win, but he could have fought on for sure.
Yeah, I guess when you've been shocked by Rook a7, you might not find that defence very easily.
Yeah, he didn't find it, so he moved his queen.
Let's have a look at one more nice idea.
Oh yes,
Queen a2.
Oh, this is really nice. Yes.
Check.
Yep.
Check. King. Check. Walkies. Oh dear. Yeah, beautiful.
Oh, there's one more variation actually after Queen a2.
Queen a2,
which I like. Go back to the position. Queen
yeah,
right,
yeah.
Knight takes e7 check.
Yeah.
King e7. Knight takes f5 check. King
This
g8.
move. Yeah, beautiful.
Queen g4 check.
Super.
Knight takes queen. And knight e7 made.
Yeah, that's a superb.
That's how I'd have liked the game to finish.
Yeah, I'm sure it was. Well, he spoiled the party temporarily.
Yeah.
Check. Well, this looks terrible. Well, your next move's nice as well.
Yeah.
The finishing touch.
Yeah. This wins the house.
Very nice. There's no move.
No, he's completely dead in this
Fantastic game. Fantastic games.
Yeah. So you've got a real back catalogue of good games, haven't you?
Yeah. I've also got a real back catalogue of complete crap, but
And quite a few draws.
I didn't like losing. I went through 3 Olympiads without loss, 4 British Championships without loss. I almost made it through 2 Hastings Premiers without loss. I just lost 1 game in each, but once against Smyslov and once against Gligorich. But apart from that, I didn't lose any other games in those 2 Hastings Premiers. I just didn't like losing. I hated losing.
Yeah.
Well, look, it's been a great show. Before we wrap up, just give us your thoughts on the current chess world, because it's changed so much, hasn't it? The chess world has changed beyond recognition.
It's unrecognisable, yeah, absolutely. And one of the things I find dreadfully puzzling is why Carlsen is so successful. I mean, he's obviously discovered something about chess that nobody else knows. Because I look at his games and Victor Korchnoi thought that he must be hypnotising his opponents because his moves look so bad. Yet, he just wins so many tournaments. He wins so many games, beats people often quite easily. And I don't know whether it's some aura or some psychological pressure, or whether he just understands chess so well that he sees advantages where other people don't see anything at all. Kasparov was very much my type of champion. I loved the way he played. I like the way Caruana plays, but I found Carlsen very hard to understand. But he's clearly a very, very, very great chess player, and he's also a great virtuoso in the different types of chess. I mean, we have the online things that have occurred because of COVID, and the blitz ones and the different time limits and everything, and he's hugely successful in all these things. But he doesn't seem to care about losing. He loses a huge number of games compared with people like Petrosian.
But don't forget, he plays much more, doesn't he?
He plays
a colossal amount of chess. I mean, it's unbelievable how much he plays.
Yeah, I mean, he plays in an online tournament, and then goes away and plays in some 5-minute thing that with a first prize of tuppence or something the same day.
Well, he's quite happy to sit up all night playing 1-minute chess. That's the type of craziness that goes on.
Yeah.
I just wondered how you saw the future of chess, because it seems to have just sped up beyond all recognition. And how far can it go?
I think it has. I mean, I think Netflix, if they're sensible, will produce a second series of the Queen's Gambit films. People playing chess who were never playing before. It's spread to all sorts of different areas. I mean, it's just a shame that Putin's done what he's done with the Ukraine, because he's cutting off so much energy that could be used for chess. I mean, Russian sponsors are now going to be persona non grata for years afterwards, and this Ukraine thing is absolutely bloody tragic. But
strength in depth terms, it's Russia and the Ukraine. There's like so many strong players in the two countries. And now Ukraine is presumably, if and when this comes to an end, there's going to be a period of rebuilding, and Russia, until there's some kind of change in government, they're not going to be competing normally. There's going to be two chess worlds.
It's absolutely tragic, and the Chinese may side with the Russians. Who knows? And they're a great chess power. And I don't know what the stance of the various former Soviet republics might be. I think some of them support Putin, some of them don't. But one of the things I've noticed is that although a very great majority of the world's nations are very much opposed to what Putin has done, the ones that are lukewarm in attacking him or outright support him have far greater populations. Mexico has not condemned him. I don't think Brazil has. India certainly hasn't. China hasn't. This is a gigantic chunk of the world's population. And I suspect that deep down, there's some sort of imperial thinking in some of these countries, like, breakaway province must punish, rather than total infringement of human rights. And, it worries me seriously, it really does. Anyway, nothing we can do about that. But as I said, I'm very sorry that the communications broke down. So if you want to do this again,
we'd love to. It's been a really great pleasure having you on, and very interesting. I mean, one of our most interesting shows yet. And,
good, thank you.
Yeah, so we'd love to have you back.
And if you want some more games, I recommend the 2 games I won from the Lloyd's Masters I won in 1981. Well, I won more than 2 games, but there were 2 in particular against Anderson.
Nimzo Indians, I think, was Lichterink one of them.
There was Lichterink and Arneson. And I managed to sacrifice the exchange either 3 or 4 times.
These double pawns and the Rook D5 exchange sack. Those are really interesting.
So if you want to do it again, let me know. I've got plenty of time,
Okay.
and we'll fit it in one morning and make sure that we don't lose connection again.
We don't worry about technical difficulties.
Good.
We're very relaxed about
The
this.
show's full of them.
Yeah.
Anyway, I hope
Okay.
your viewers start reading my columns in the article. It's easy to find at the article, and I hope even more that they go out and buy my book 50 Shades of Ray, because I'm very pleased with that. I think it's an excellent book.
Yeah.
Great.
Okay.
Well, thank you very much for coming on.
Yeah. Yeah.
My pleasure.
Thank you.
See you again.
Okay. Right.
Yeah.
Bye.
All the best. Cheers.